You've waited a lifetime to look better and feel better, and now here's your chance. Fitness Friday on WNDB. Call 239-0033 and have your questions answered on health, fitness, and a better life. Fitness Friday is brought to you by Bodies by Tasso & Company, 1140 West Granada Boulevard in Ormond Beach. And now, here's your host, Tasso Kyriakis.
Welcome to Fitness Friday. It's great to be back in the studio with you. Got Mitch here with me from Love Whole Foods, co-host of and owner of Love Whole Foods in Port Orange and Ormond Beach. And Mitch, it was an envious weekend for what you and many people out there would have loved as an experience for me. I have an awful lot of things to talk about today. You know, hopefully we're going to have a friend of ours, Hank Belden, who's been around this area for a long time, giving us a call around 9:30. I know he has his hospitality bartending studio. I want to give some people some updates. Number one is, I was greeted by Terry today when I walked in asking if I would go to the Seabreeze game and give him updates. I said, no, I have to go to my dance lesson.
Seabreeze to land. Yeah.
Seabreeze to land. And
Your dance lesson.
My dance lesson.
Oh, nice. How sweet.
So things are moving along there. I actually am not stepping on my instructor anymore. But I want to remind people that November the 10th is going to be that event, the Dancing with the Stars. It's actually the last day of the Greek Festival. Yes, it will be a quiet Yido booth this year, Dave, because I will not be in the Yido booth at the Greek Festival. I will be in Las Vegas, Nevada, with my holistic health training with Dr. Pompa and his group of health centers of the future. So I'm going to be the 7th, 8th, and 9th out there, and I'm taking a red-eye flight home to participate in the Dancing with the Stars on November 10th. And so I want to encourage you to contact us to get your seat at that event. You know, I've given up entertaining people in foursomes when I went golfing to now entertain multitudes of people at the Hilton during that evening as a dancer. And so,
I thought you meant as a comedian.
Well, it will be a comic. It probably will be a comic experience for many people to see me out there. I mean, everybody that's heard I'm doing this first congratulates me because they think I'm one of the real Dancing with the Stars on ABC.
Right.
and then when I explain to them, they go, "Oh," and they go like, "Really? You're gonna dance?" And they start to laugh. They get a giggle to them.
Why?
So
I don't get that. You look like you'd be a good dancer.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's gonna be like, it is a work in progress. Just let me say that. Got to learn 3 dances: the foxtrot, the cha-cha, and my own feature dance is going to be the rumba that I'm going to do with my instructor now. Trying to raise money. There's two ways that you win this competition or get recognized as a big contributor. Uh-huh. Number one is you win the crystal ball for being the best dancer. So let's put the odds rather long on that for me to do that with the judges. One of the judges is Debbie Kruk. Yeah. So it'll be maybe we can get hold of Debbie and pay her off or something like that. But
she's a female bodybuilder.
She was a Miss Fitness USA, and she
Yeah.
now has a Pilates studio in Ormond Beach, and she certainly is aware of body alignment and that type of thing. I heard who the other judges are, but I forgot who they are. I'll find out on Monday night because we're having a launch on September 6th.
Don't you have to try to kiss up to them? Send them flowers and send them,
That
fruit
might be a good idea.
Send them food.
I appreciate the input. Any ideas you guys think that can sway the judges? But the crystal ball is going to be the person who does the best dancing in the eyes of the judge. Okay.
All right.
So the odds are rather long on that. Okay, for me. The second one is the fundraising champion, which is the person who raises the most money for the Daytona Symphony Society, and the money goes to benefit the youth music program. So that's something that intrigues me because you know how I love working with youth ministry and that.
Yeah.
So that's something that really intrigues me and I'm excited about. So we are doing it Bodies every Wednesday night right now. We may go to a Saturday time, but every Wednesday at 5:15 we have a Zumba class. Mm-hmm. And for non-members of the club, it's $10 to come in. It's $5 for members. And for Florida Health Club members, it's for Florida Healthcare members, it's $5. And we now, with that program, we take that money, and let's say we make $600. Well, that'll buy 8 or 9 seats to the event, which are $75 a piece. We're going to pull the names of all the people that went to class and give them a ticket to the event because we're going to take the profit that's collected from that event and do that so we can get that aspect of it. So that's one of our fundraising. We're going to have an event in October. And we'd appreciate your support if you'd like to get involved with us and get a table or get a seat at that event for Dancing with the Stars on November 10th. Now, before that, on September 27th, there is the pre-launch of the Greek Festival. September 27th, they're going to have a St. Demetrius Feast Day or community event that is going to feature the island of Crete, which is tied into the Greek Festival this year, which is November 7th, 8th, and 9th. This week is the last week to buy tickets to that for only $35. Remember, you're going to get an authentic Greek Cretan meal cooked right on the premises. You're going to have live entertainment. There's a live band. There's a DJ. It's going to be awesome. So if you're interested in tickets to that September 27th pre-launch of the Greek Festival, it's September 27th. Call 252-6012. That's 252-6012 at St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church. Now, so Mitch, I went to Missouri.
All right.
And you know your friend and now someone I very much appreciate being able to call a friend or at least an acquaintance, Jordan Rubin.
Yep.
Who founded
Jordan well?
Who founded Garden of Life company, where a lot of people are familiar. I don't think there is a natural foods, supplement, whole foods place that doesn't recognize Garden of Life under Jordan's direction as one of the finest nutrition supplement companies that there was. Whole Foods.
Jordan has created a wonderful empire, and it's great. It's the kind of empire we need.
And so,
yeah, as a matter of fact, I've got his book here. His book that he wrote called Raw. And, of course, he introduced the whole raw concept to the American lexicon. I have that book, by the way. Anybody that's listening that would like a copy of it, I'll be happy if you mention Tasso and Mitch on the front. Having listened on the radio, we'll give you a free copy of it.
Well, I have in my hands the
manuscript,
autographed directly to me because of my fireside chats with Mitch.
Right.
The Maker's Diet Revolution, his new book that'll come out in November of this year.
Wow. I'm learning something. That's great.
And I want to tell you about the experience. I don't know how many people have ever thought of living on a farm or living on a ranch, but Mitch, to go and eat food the way God intended you. Now, realistically, outside of my camping experience with the summer camp program, this is the first experience to a real live farm where in the morning you went out and picked your vegetables. We found the slowest running chicken so we could have dinner. we got eggs. We had meat that was produced right on that farm.
Wow.
We had watermelon that was grown right on the site.
Wow.
Every day was fresh. Every day was creative. All of it was organic. All of it was right from the earth.
Sounds like whole food heaven to me.
And it was an unbelievable. I ate like a pig and lost 1.5 pounds.
Well, that's the whole concept. If you eat nutritionally dense food that hasn't been processed, you're going to actually lose weight. Think cowboys.
Yeah, and to this point, Mitch, we went to a spring that was on the site. Okay, it's 8,000 acre ranch. We went to a spring.
Wow.
And Jordan starts to tell us about these watercress that are very good for liver health and a huge anti-carcinogen.
Yep, and that's why we sell them. I agree.
And we started to eat them right from the ground. You took them, washed them off in the spring, and started to eat them. It tasted a little bit like wasabi, light wasabi taste. And he said they were going to make a supplement out, but they found when they picked them and took them back to the ranch to produce, they were deteriorating and losing their nutrition that quickly.
Right.
So they brought a mobile blender with its own generator to the spring.
Wow.
So they could homogenize it into
so you get those live enzymes literally at the point that it's been popped, right when it's sacrificed its existence to enhance our existence. That's the beautiful symbology of whole food.
So I have a point to this conversation. So I started to tease Jordan that everywhere I walked on that ranch, I was afraid to step on anything other than grass, knowing that grass is nutritionally rich and that's why they feed it to the cows. Because I'm afraid I'm walking on a cancer cure. at some point. So but the one big part of this is that these foods delivered to our gut natural probiotics, something that now has become the largest selling supplement in the world.
Yeah, that's funny because I when we were talking about what we should have our subject for today's talk, I mentioned an article in the Science and Health section of the News Journal. But go ahead, you're right. In my store, well, first of all, Love Whole Foods introduced the first pharmaceutical grade probiotics. We're not talking Dannon yogurt, where the dairy, the host for the bacteria is milk that has come from non-Jordan Rubin cows jacked up full of hormones and antibiotics, and then heated to meet government standards. And then you think the bacteria is going to survive. We're not talking that. We're talking pharmaceutical grade probiotics 24 years ago. And of course, everybody poo-pooed it. And what's interesting now...
That's a good tie-in, poo-pooing.
Right, and that poo-poo is exactly what represents 100 trillion cells in the gut. As a matter of fact, there's more foreign bacteria cells in Tasso and Mitch's body than there are Tasso and Mitch cells. So, and you mess with those bacteria at your peril. But you're absolutely correct. In a farm like Jordan's, that probacteria is in the ground. It's the biomass that's in the soil that gets absorbed into the watercress, and then you eat the watercress, and bada bing, what happens? You repopulate your gut. It certainly, if nothing else, is critical in preventing constipation, which is an epidemic in this country, primarily because the standard American diet is a sterile diet. You're eating foods where it's been processed and they use antibiotics, or even worse, they irradiate the food. Why is food irradiation so dangerous? It kills all the bacteria. That's the normal component in healthy food.
Okay,
period.
So let's stay on the train of thought.
All right.
So just the effect of natural food coming from the land. We talked to Jordan, and they had 19, 10, 11, and 12-year-olds on the site for 14 days. And they ran a baseball camp because a couple of the guys that work for Jordan are former pro baseball players. And this facility, this 8,000 square foot ranch, used to be a summer camp program.
Ah.
They fed these kids all natural food. By the end of the 14 days, kids with ADD were now not as hard to control. They saw definite changes in behavior. The average kid, 10 to 12 years old, gained 8 pounds of weight while at the camp. Okay, their parents picked them up and go, man, my kid looks so much healthier. And kids that had allergies had now, not completely off of them, but there are kids that should have never been there that are there because they're eating the natural antibodies and that are coming through, the probiotics coming through into their system, had normalized their system, but they were putting real food, no processed food, into their bodies, and they were working out for their sport. They're doing some kettlebell workouts and things of that nature. So we look at the fragmented society of medical practice in this country. And I had a client the other day I sat and talked with, and she has 4 different physicians that she has to run everything through that she does, okay? And she has about 6 or 7 medications. I asked the question, I said, have you ever had your doctors look at the different medications? Because it seems like you're duplicating some things. They don't have the time to communicate. So it now becomes imperative to the patient to begin to go and ask people like Nick Fedorovich at Walgreens in Holly Hill, hey, Nick, can you look at my meds and see if maybe I should talk to my doctors about... Some people are taking meds. They don't even know why the doctor gave them the meds. They're not even seeing that doctor, but they're still getting the prescription. Okay? Now, the point being is that this article that you read that talks about probiotics as a as
To
a
fight
way-
obesity.
Fight obesity.
obesity.
We
An
are
epidemic in this
we,
country.
we are killing the good bacteria in our stomachs, because what's the first thing a doctor will prescribe to you when you go and see them and tell them, oh, I got this, I don't feel like this? Well, the first things they get is what? An antibiotic.
Right. It's
Which
got sinusitis because they've got an allergy to dairy, and they get snotty. Every mother out there knows the kid eats dairy, pizza. Let's America's favorite food, and the kid's all snotty, and then the kid gets a sinus infection, and what's the first thing he gives them? An antibiotic. When what he needs is a lifestyle change, and understand that pizza's not food. I mean, it can be if it's done with whole food ingredients like we sell at both our cafes at both locations. But I'm talking processed pizza,
Right.
where that Jordan didn't serve. Jordan would have served pizza, but it would have had range-fed beef. It would have had tomatoes
Dairy-fed-
picked right from the garden.
Dairy-fed cheese.
Right, and it would have been flour that wasn't bromelated and had a shelf life that would last 10 years before it spoiled.
And in the old days, and here's another critical part of health that I really began to learn a little bit about while I was out there, is, in the old days, to preserve food, they didn't have refrigeration. They used fermentation.
Right.
And the fermentation would, the bacteria would act and preserve the food as well as preserve and make the nutrients bioavailable. And this is an important part, when we talk to people about going and get fermented vegetables and things of that nature, the value of them and all the now I understand a lot of the fermented drinks, that why Jordan has begun to produce these, which I had a Kabuka tea that was made by him that's as a carbonated drink that was addictive. I mean, today I'm gonna order. I tried to. Every Friday has a Green Market special at Beyond Organic, and I'm sitting there and I'm going like. So I said, Jordan, what's going to be the Green Market special? He said, you got to make this Kabuka tea the Green Market special, But it was,
And we've been doing kombucha tea 2 decades.
Yeah.
I think it was first introduced probably in the mid-'90s. It was nothing new. It just came back in the 90s.
Right.
I've got 4 different fermented kombucha teas that are ready to take right off the shelf.
Right.
Both stores, the one in Port Orange and the one in Ormond Beach.
So my point to all this is that we're looking at articles where the headline is, study the right bug might fight obesity. Well, we do know this. We know that if you're taking over-the-counter Prevacid, you're killing a bacteria in your stomach that's responsible for allowing you to be able to metabolize the carbohydrates that come from some of the cellulose-type products that we would eat. We have to look, we've always said at Bodies that, again, going back to the synergy of being successful, the 8-hour program that we're now offering, and we're going to start to talk about a new program we're going to offer, but the 8-hour program that we offer, that program says, listen, we're going to exercise 20 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what your schedule allows. It's going to have a little bit of strength training in it to take care of the muscle, and it's going to take care of the aerobic, a little moderate aerobic. Now, you notice nowhere in there did I say we're going to do 40 minutes of aerobic exercise. We're going to get on a treadmill, walk in a boring situation. People come to me all the time and say, I don't like to exercise in gyms because it's boring. I want to be outside. Well, great. Let's be outside. But let's take care of the critical parts of you being successful and your health going. I had a lady that called the other day. She's 83 years old. She has no idea what strength training or working out on a strength machine are. And hopefully I will get the opportunity to introduce her to that, because for her, one of the most critical things she can do, she is sharp in her mind, but to maintain a quality of life and have the confidence to go through your life, she has to address that muscle. And women out there, you have to address muscle. I know that all of you love to go to the social part of the body pumps and the body flows and the yogas and the Pilates and all those great classes. But if you don't address attention to muscle, you're leaving half the equation on the table. The other thing is you cannot out-exercise your eating habits. So you have to have good eating habits. And one of the things that has become abundantly aware to me over the last several years is that we need to move more towards the live and the raw and the organic movement that is here, because of the nutrition, the satiation. There's not a person that I have on Beyond Organic that has not come back to me. Now, the first thing they say is, wow, that's a lot more expensive to spend $8 for a pound of ground beef. Okay, that's pretty expensive. But then they say, you know what? That ground beef lasted me 5 hamburgers and was awesome. I felt satiated. I felt full. Why? Because nutritionally, the nutritional bucket in the stomach was getting taken care of.
The nutrient density. It's nutrient dense. In our last discussion last week about the standard American diet, we jokingly called it football food, but football food isn't just a football season. It's got lots and lots of calories, no nutrients. When Leslie Patterson did her article on her presentation, which by the way, in the Port Orange store, we had 30 people come out on a Thursday night. She talked about why people sit with the salt shaker, shaking it and shaking it and shaking it on the food. And the reason is the body wants those essential salts. That's 72 rare earth salts, not just sodium chloride, which is 2, but all 72. But they simply added and added because the body doesn't get the signal that you're talking about. That signal that says, I'm sated. I got the 72 rare earth elements. All I need is the old European adage, I just need a pinch of salt. And by the way, in both the Ormond and the Port Orange store, we're doing a sea salt presentation. Just come on in and pick up one of our shoppers, and you can see when that demonstration is going to take place. Taste it. And when you taste it, it's so intense. It's so intense that you say, all I need is a pinch.
Right. And there's four tastes that we have. There is sweet, there is sour, there is bitter, and there is the salt taste. And when we go salt and sweet as American population, that's what we crave. We get up in the morning, we want our coffee sweet. We go through the day. As we go into the afternoon, we want our salt. We ignore the bitter and the sweet, or the sour, because the sour is actually that fermentation that delivers to us an awful lot of nutrients and stuff.
Kombucha, for the listeners don't realize, it's a sour sweet taste, which is very interesting.
And it's almost a lot of times like I've been using the fermented herbs from Beyond Organic now, put into my water. And when I have people say, hey, what's in your water? I let them taste it. They go, oh wow, that sort of tastes sour. It's like drinking a highly diluted beer almost to them, because it has that little flavor of the fermentation. And I said, well, that's where the health part comes from.
Well, let's go back to this University of Washington University Center for Genome Sciences and Systems Biology. Though what the kombucha does, and what you experienced on Jordan's Ranch, is that you were turbocharging those good beneficial bacteria. That biomass is now what we're seeing more and more, as we saw in the cover of we mentioned in a previous show, the April 1st, 2013 cover of Time Magazine. That's really interesting, Tasso, because that's exactly...
Well, the April 1st cover, so people didn't listen to the show, is how do you cure cancer?
How do you cure cancer? A whole new paradigm shift. A whole new paradigm shift in approaching how we whack cancer. It's no longer the John Wayne swagger in with your 6-gun, radiation on one side, chemo on the other gun. Now it's talking about boosting the human immune system to do what? Create an environment where the cancer cells can't get started. And you made that wonderful contribution of that triangle. It's that gut, it's the
brain and the immune
system. The gut and the brain linking together in their conversation, so that the third element, which is optimal immunity, that means you don't get allergies. That means you don't have inflammation. That means you don't have gut dysbiosis. That's irritable bowel syndrome for all, fancy word. You don't get sinusitis. You don't get earitis. You basically don't get any itis. That's incredible, because those itises are the warm-up band to something much more serious, which is pancreatic cancer. You make sugar a food group, and if you're past 50, where hormone and the critical element, you don't exercise. If you don't turn the switch on that makes these metabolic processes happen, what are you doing? You're sort of like stewing in your own gut debris.
Well, every person that we know out there, if you live in America, you live under stress. And we talk constantly, and here's our plug for Dr. Fahn today, because I still think one of the most significant things that Dr. Fahn does, yes, he can help you stop smoking. He can help you raise your system so you fight cancer. He can help you with pain patterns that you have. But I think the one thing that he does that is the root of what acupuncture does to you is he can give you a stress relief treatment. And I think that is one of the things that I enjoy the most, that on my Thursday or Friday afternoon, I make time to go take that half-hour nap in Dr. Fahn's office and get that treatment, okay? Now, that treatment, what's the value of it? It begins to reset my system, because all day long I've gone through stressful situations. And my body, listen, the body was made, and here's why exercise is so critical. You know, we have the theme for this show, love, laugh, and lift. You know, we got to love our bodies. We got to love our neighbors. We got to love our friends. Listen, you people out there that carry hate, it's interesting. Jordan has founded a church on the ranch. And here's a core principle to orthodoxy, and I think even to the Jewish faith, because they talk about, they're just going through, I think tomorrow is Yom Kippur, so if I'm not mistaken. And tomorrow's a day of forgiveness and atonement.
It actually starts today at sundown.
So here's why that exists in these religions that propagate people to live so long and so healthily. Jordan said, I can't let you leave my camp at his church service. I can't let you leave my ranch. If you leave with anger towards someone. And, that night there were 16 people on this thing. There were 8 husband and wives. There were 6 husband and wives, all of which were physicians, okay? There was an internet marketer. There was me, and there was a former hockey player and his wife, okay? So there's 16 people there, and we're all there, and the stories by the fireside at night were the stories of these hugely successful people that had been abandoned by their parents and had really, quite frankly, had issues with that through their life. And Jordan said, after hearing the conversations last night, I can't let you leave this camp tonight, this ranch experience that we've had that was so positive, so productive, and allow you to leave with any kind of hate or dismay in your heart. He said, I want you to write down those people that have disappointed you, and I want you today in this worship service to forgive them. Because when you lift that off your spirit, your soul. Now, how many people out there have so much hate in their hearts and vileness towards people that they're so angry in life, they're overweight, and God forbid that hate yields so much stress and so much anxiety in your body.
We see it in the world on the world stage. All of this, all these.
But they're driving this anxiety, which drives their stress, which now decimates their immune system, and all of a sudden they have cancer. It's unbelievable. The time and time, if you could know the real story and trace back and know the true feelings, that they're not putting on a happy face because they have one of those psychotropic drugs that makes everything happy, happy, joy, joy, but is again killing their system because there's no serotonin uptake available to them. That's why this triangle, the brain, the gut, and the immune system is so tied into exercise. It is the intelligence of the body.
And happiness, I guess we could throw in there. Love, laugh, lift, and you're doing it to be happy, as opposed to the opposite, which is hatred. And we're seeing so much of that on the world stage. I mean, I agree.
And when you talk about the genome, this is a science. This is a science that is. I don't even know if it's being. I got to call Lucky Dunn. I say I got to go. Hey, Lucky, what's the scoop, Lucky, with what you're teaching at FSU's medical school? Is it talking about these projects, this genome project that was in 1995? These things that are so significant to the what's going on in inflammation and what we now know about how a cell functions and the stability of the membrane of a cell. From that standpoint, I mean, how do we get that part of it? This is the connection. And now we're going to change gears.
It's interesting. That's why eight doctors were at a six doctors were at a wellness center, because they get it. They get that the 14 years of training that they had was dedicated to a methodology that is in severe need of update. And that's what the cover on the Time magazine is saying. That's what Jordan's been involved in, and it's what Love Whole Foods has been saying. Food and exercise as medicine has been our standard. If anyone that comes in and asks our mission statement, it hasn't changed in 24 years, other than the fact that we've added that we are screening for genetically modified foods. And Jordan started this ranch for one reason. He wants to preserve the heirloom seed stock so that watercress doesn't get changed, so that melon, that watermelon has seeds in it.
Okay, I got to get you off your phone box. I got Hank coming in. I know. All right, I invite a guest that's been a member of my club for, must be almost all 25 or 30 years. Hank Belden, welcome to Fitness Friday.
Hello, Tasso.
And the great transition would be from the guy who brought you back in the 70s and 80s, the largest salad bar in the county for a while at the Key West Trader, right? Wasn't that the big deal with the Key West Trader back then? Is that it had the largest salad bar? Because I remember going along that thing and going like, man, this is a big salad bar.
That was one of the big deals. Our flaming suckling pig served at your table was also pretty popular.
Right. Hank, we,
Was that an organic pig, Hank? That's what it was. It?
So Hank, you've been a member of Bodies for several years. And I'd say 25, 30, right? Because we ironically have it tied in common that when I opened my first fitness center in the shopping center over by Manny's Pizza across from Prince of Peace, your bartending school was right next door to me, and then some 20 years later, you reopen your bartending school and right next door to Bodies by Tasso and Company. So we have that tie-in and that coincidence to us. But you've been a member of Bodies all the way back at 1990 when we were over there in the Renaissance Plaza. And this past month, we actually, for the first time, got you into a one-on-one program. And, I've had a lot of people, especially some triathletes, come up to me and their friends are training with me. They go like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I don't need a trainer to train me. Why would I want to invest all this money? But you had a unique experience you started to share when because of special medical things we had to address with your shoulders and that we went into a one-on-one. So talk a little bit about your experience for me.
You've just about said it all. But as you said, I've watched you do one-on-one for 20-something years. And I thought you were following me around. Maybe I was following you around geographically. But I've seen world-class athletes come in your gym, and I've seen you working with them. And I'm over there working on myself thinking, I don't need that. And then I get out of the habit, just like everybody else. And I've got a reason now to live to be 100 healthy. And if you like the Key West Trader, you're going to love Mango Key. I'll reveal more about that later. But that's when I came over and asked you one-on-one. And I said, oh, my God, and I don't know how many people I've told, he'll train you from your toes to your nose. He watches you, knows you. He knows what you're breathing, how your toes are reacting. I mean, it's amazing. And I want to do it more, and you won't let me. But I understand why.
Right, and it is. I when I was at in Missouri at the ranch, one of the physicians knew who I was because we had attended a seminar together, and I trained him, Hank, one of the mornings in this little gym that they had there. And it was sort of, old school like we would have back in our garage when we were growing up, and we were all working out in our garages, and, like the first weight set we ever got. And, I had the little modern stuff that had some bands and had some balls and, and had some kettlebells. So I improvised a workout to keep our philosophy. And by lunchtime that day, I had every one of the doctors and their wives going, I want to hear about this workout that took 12 minutes to go through because, Dr. Dan's in pretty good shape. And he said, that was an awesome workout. And so, I took them through it, and it's surprising to me that as well as we know Arthur Jones and as well as we know these principles, it is something that these are cutting edge physicians. These are guys that have not allowed the pharmaceuticals to dictate their schedule to them. They're guys who are doing functional medicine, and they're really into it. They want to break this cycle of pharmaceuticals and always having to prescribe and the 3-minute visits that they got to have, to keep their practice running. These are guys that are just such, we have them like this in our area too. I'm not knocking any physicians, but these guys, they say, well, yeah, I've read about this training before, but never had they had the opportunity to experience it. They never gotten the opportunity as someone who had experience with it and could tell them the science behind it and that time. And it was almost like Jordan turned one of the sessions into a let's talk about exercise kind of session that we had. And people sometimes think that exercise, what have we done with exercise in our country? We've said, look, you've got to exercise every day if you want to be healthy. And I just don't buy into that. I buy that our systems are more delicate than that. You could tell all you want to tell about your medical background and the challenges you've had and that type of thing and how hectic your schedule is and that. But the reality is that if we overload the system, I started a lady on a fitness program the other day, and she texted me the other day and said, aren't you proud of me? I'm motivated. And she's showing me that she's walking the bridge. So when I saw her for a second appointment, I said, listen, I am so pleased that you're excited. But I want to tell you in all honesty, your body's not ready to go up that bridge every day in 90-degree heat. I know you're motivated, but one of the reasons you've had the challenge you've had is because you've put too much on your body, and we need to rebuild that body. It's called a body building program at its roots, what we believe in, and that's why we've talked about the 2 times a week for you, Hank, and we can add other things in as we see what the body's doing. And now you're about 2 weeks into this. How have you noticed differences?
All around. I've turned into a better salesman for bodies, I'll tell you that. Matter of fact, I left a meeting just a few minutes ago with a rather heavy man that was telling me that he was on some kind of all-around gym, Chuck Norris or some gizmo in his garage.
Right.
And he said, that's going to just make me a new person. And he said, if I can stick with it. And I said, well, if you'd go over there to Bodies, he said, oh, I don't go to gyms. I don't go to gyms. They make you sign up for a year, and I never last a year, and then I have to pay for it. I said, you ought to go talk to Tasso. Might change you. And anyway, I know you got other callers.
Well, I appreciate it, Hank, and I appreciate your feedback, because the one thing I want people to understand is there is such a I don't know what the word I want to use, perception about quote unquote gyms. I prefer to call us fitness centers, but the reason I brought Mitch into the show here, and the reason I have a relationship with Dr. Fahn, and the reason I work doing the seminars and going to Missouri and all that kind of stuff that I do is because I feel it's as important a time as ever been since when I started my business in 1987 to differentiate ourselves from. Because listen, this is what I do, because you're a guy that knows the businesses now. There's a lot of good fitness facilities, gyms in the town. There's Great Wise, that type of thing. But we're working in a paradigm that if you look at Apple, there's this thing called the golden circles. And if you look at Apple, why Apple kicks everybody's butt is that they start everything they do with a why. Why are they doing it? And the why at Bodies is, we want to change your health. Why am I going to see and talk to Jordan Ruman? Because Jordan Ruman's mission statement is to change the lives and the health of America. Well, that's what we want to do in our own community, to our little corner of the world. We want to change the lives and health, and we have a more efficient system. And people come in and they go through Bodies and they go like, most of them are taken back when they come through, Hank, because it's not the Gold's Gym experience. It's not the Elite Fitness experience. It's not the Y experience. It's not the Anytime Fitness. It's not the Planet Fitness, which I'll tell you that Dave's wearing a damn Planet Fitness shirt today.
I did that to just rile you.
Yeah, you riled me, okay.
I found it was discarded
I must
somewhere.
break you.
Honestly, it was discarded somewhere.
So, but the thing about it is I want people, and you know what? Just like going into Mitch's store and buying his food, you know what? It's more expensive than Publix in many cases. Although I will tell you what I've noticed
Our organic produce in many cases, item for item, are cheaper than conventional.
Well, right now, if you had to buy one get one on organic avocados.
Avocados.
And it was
There is
cheap.
Mitch's store.
And it was cheaper than buying them. It was $1.68 to buy one avocado at Publix.
Plus, they're kissed by Y, my Vietnamese goddess. So you get that love element that you never get from a mass market store.
So
Can I get them? Where are you, Mitch?
Right across from the post office, right next to Regal Cineplex.
So and
Love?
love
Yeah.
Whole Foods.
Okay. Yeah, I come in there a lot. Okay, great.
So back to my point is that there is a difference in the experience, and you know I love when people come in and they get this aha moment like you've had, and I really appreciate you taking the time because I know you have a big project which we have a few minutes to share that if you'd like to share anything about that, because I know you have some really big dreams that you have and a project before you. But you know I look at this and I say I want to be that much different than everybody else. I want them to walk in. So you're not buying a $10 fitness membership when you come into Bodies. When you come do this 8-hour body program, you're not buying a gym membership. You know, that fellow you talked to, I wish I could speak directly to him and say, listen, you want to use your Total Gym at home? That's great. Let me help you plan that Total Gym experience for yourself at home. But give me 1 day a week, because that 1 day a week I get with you will change your life. It will change the way you do, the way you walk, the way you eat, and the way you live your life, to live your dreams and explore what you want to explore. That's why we do what we do. We want to change those lives in that direction, Hank, and that's why you have the visions you have for things.
Also, you'll get an opportunity to do that today.
All right.
I will guarantee you, almost guarantee you. And if you want to hear about my new project, I have to keep it secret right now, but it's going to be something
Well, we're gonna
here
make
in
sure.
Ormond Beach that is going to be world-class food and beverage that you won't believe.
Well, we'll make sure that Al Smith is there to help you let people know about that experience when you get to that point. And I'm excited for you, Hank, because I hear it in your voice when we talked, and you know the first day when we talked, you were so excited. We were supposed to go over your medical history and stuff, and we ended up hearing about this vision that you have for this community, and what your business and your dream will do for that. And it was exciting. And then we had to reschedule a whole nother time to come back and go, okay, Hank, we can't talk about anything but your medical history here, so we can get on this road of you being able to do that. And I really appreciate your support over the years. You know, you're one of those guys that if there's something wrong in my club, you're always letting me know about it. And that, you know, some businesses go, man, that guy is a complainer. But I look at it as it's an opportunity, because you let me know what I don't see. You know, sometimes I have members that walk up and say, hey, listen, I can't get this machine to work. And I go, how long has this thing been not working? And people go, well, I tried it a couple weeks. I wish members would come up to me and say, hey, Tasso, that machine over there isn't doing this, because I don't get on those machines. You know, that's traditional cardiovascular. I don't do that. I do my burst training, which was actually another article in the newspaper this past week. I understand on Monday that an article resembled our burst training. Hakeem Lucas was telling me about it, and he said, man, it just gave so much validation. I knew so much more than that article because of what you've been teaching me. So, Hank, again, thank you so much. When it's time to reveal your vision and your business, I hope that we can help you promote it, because I know it's going to make the Ormond Beach area a lot better.
I've been planning it around the world for 50 years, and when you get back, I'll be next door. I've got a new suggestion for you.
Okay.
Thanks, Tasso.
And Hank, I don't know if I'll get there, because I know they got me back to back today, because I was in Orlando yesterday. But I will get as soon as I can. I will get there.
Okay,
Thank
ciao.
you. God bless.
Hey, Tasso, remind me, where was Key West Trader located?
It was, you know where the other place is on the beach side?
Right.
Right there by Casa del Mar. It was across the street in that little ship. So I think it's called China Garden or China Buffet now. And I don't even know that it's open. But
Remember, there used to be the Sweden House.
It was right over there by there
Up
too.
in
I don't know if it was.
there,
I don't know if it was the same place, but it was right over there by
Okay.
there. I remember in the '70s going in there at lunchtime and just.
I remember
I mean,
Key
my
West.
eyes
I couldn't
got.
remember where it was, though.
Yeah, my eyes got this big because I'd never seen a bar, a salad bar that had everything so fresh cut and stuff. I'd seen salad bars, but they were, it was like at Brewmasters and and stuff. But I mean, walking in there and it was like it was turning over and it was fresh, and they're out there cutting the tomatoes right there. But I mean, it was amazing. I've seen places like that since, but
Was she kidding about the flaming pig at your table?
I don't know, because I just don't eat pig. I guess I am a religious fanatic. I don't know. Some people tell me I am. Some people, to me, I'm a sinner, and I'm just, I'm a pain in the
It's
butt.
just a low energy food. It just doesn't make you feel good after you eat it.
It's just, we promote pork as the other white meat and stuff, but everything that I see, I mean, man, I look at it and I go like, I just, when I was in 6th grade, they talked about trichinosis, and I go like,
Yeah.
I don't want any worms.
Make sure your pork is well
although
cooked.
there's people that order tapeworms as a this is how desperate we are for weight loss.
All right.
We order
Listen,
tapeworms for weight loss.
Let's promote something that's right in tune with Jordan Rubin, who we had in February of 2011. We had a major tent event on February 14th, 2011, which is when I announced that I was going to open our second store in Port Orange. That was an incredible event. I just wanted to mention that on November 7th, I'm having Terry Limerod come for another tent event celebration. It's going to be outdoors in the parking lot, and we're going to throw the doors open. It's going to be at 7 o'clock, and we invite everyone to come to listen to one of those personages that Jordan profiled in his Raw book. Terry was the one that introduced glucosamine sulfate to the United States. And as you know, Terry also has recently introduced pharmaceutical-grade turmeric and pharmaceutical-grade iodine, working with Dr. David Bronstein, MD, endocrinologist. So I got to just tell you that I'm really excited on that one. That's a world-class personage that has probably alleviated more pain through nutraceutical than any other person in our industry. And the other one I wanted to mention is that Michael Murray's coming October 3rd. He's going to be speaking not at Love Whole Foods. He's going to be speaking as a guest of all the area natural food stores at the Calvary Church at I-95 and Granada Boulevard. And that, again, is going to be at 7 o'clock. He's going to be talking just what you were talking about, Tasso, stress, anxiety, and insomnia, and how to deal with that without using drugs. And I just wanted to say that to commemorate having, Michael's written over 7 books, probably authored more than a couple of hundred medical monographs. We're going to be staying open from 9 o'clock until 10 o'clock. And all of Natural Factors products, which Michael represents, are going to be on sale at a 30% off. So that's in the Ormond Beach. Both those events are at the Ormond Beach store. And then I just wanted to invite people to come on down to 1633 Taylor Road and try our new store at Port Orange. And the number there is 767-6543. Anybody that has any questions or wants to sign up, call that number or 677-5236, and we'll get you signed up so we can make sure you have a seat. The Terry Limrod is going to be, it'll be standing room only as it was when Jordan Rubin was there.
Well, I look forward to those. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss the November 7th one. We were talking about the medical community, and Louis Pasteur is someone that we study in school, and here's a name that I'm going to just throw to you, and I'm going to let you run for a minute. Anton Beauchamp.
Yep, boy, one of the saddest moments in Western history. Dr. Beauchamp was the one that had an alternative theory to the Louis Pasteur germ theory. Beauchamp had a different approach, which was called the terrain theory, and that's exactly what the University of Washington and St. Louis, in the article that we're talking about with obesity, people are lean when the gut flora, the terrain that defines our humanity, is allowed to have the flora that eats carbohydrates and processes proteins properly for lean body mass. And I can only say that anyone that's interested, just Google Pasteur versus Dr. Beauchamp. And I can only say that don't cry. Just understand that the truth always will surface, and it's coming back. That's basically what Jordan is talking about.
And the thing about it is that in reading this story, because I as one of the articles that Jordan sort of gave me to read and start to go through to really get, because I told him, I said, this journey for me really only started about 3 years ago. And really understanding this part of holistic medicine and food being such a part of medicine, and think about this. We put the analogy to what we do with cholesterol and statin drugs. We took Louis Pasteur, who appeared to have truths to what he said, because of what Beaumont did with delivery room. Beaumont was a physician who found that their physicians were walking out of doing surgery and stuff like that and going and delivering babies, and only 2% of the babies were living. So that's why the germ philosophy sort of made sense. And he began to have the physicians wash their hands in chlorinated water before they went in, and the survival rate went up. So we propagate this germ philosophy for how many hundreds of years, how many centuries? And now we begin to see that Beauchamp, who had an alternative that would have added to the philosophy. I don't think he was necessarily controversial to it, but he gave more insight to it. But we chose to ignore it because they embraced at the time Beauchamp. And I think that's the same thing that's going on. What I see with how we embrace this cholesterol philosophy right now, and how we fight and attack good fats and say.
And the difference is they focus on a single bacteria or a single pathogen. In this case, they made a boogeyman out of cholesterol, remembering that drugs only attack one pathway. And what the terrain theory is saying, you can do that, but always look at the wholeness, look at the whole terrain, and what happens when you wipe out all the lean bacteria and all you leave are the bacteria that causes obesity, or in the case of cholesterol, the bad cholesterol.
And again, the example is this: 5 people go to dinner, 4 do just fine the next day, 1 gets sick. Why? Their terrain is not available to protect their body. It's back to the brain, the gut, and the immune system working together, and the total package of that synergy. Now, I'm going to very briefly go into this. I'll spend more time on it next week, and Dave will have to cut an ad for this.
Right.
Starting October 1st, we are giving the gift of health to your family. When you join a regular single membership with a $199 enrollment fee and $59.50 a month, you will receive a family membership until January 1st. So through this holiday season, when we should work to be together with our families, we are going to offer the opportunity for you to have 3 months of a family membership at the single membership rate.
Wow.
Okay?
That's nice.
Now, at New Year's, you can make your decision who you want to add, and we'll have some special promotions around that. But imagine this. If you have a family of 4, okay, for $59 a month, you can bring for 3 months that family to work out at Bodies. That will be the promotion for Family Fitness Month beginning October the 1st. And it is the most unusual offer I have ever given. But I think it is of the right time, because we want to build community. So I want to encourage you guys. The 8-Hour Body is still available, $99 for a 2-month membership that gets you on the way to getting your health. And then we have the great events coming up at Love Whole Foods with Michael Murray and
October 3rd.
October 3rd. And
At Calvary Church. It's now going to be on our campus.
November 7th, right?
And then November 7th is on the Ormond campus right next to the Regal Cineplex.
And that's Terry Lemron.
That's Terry Lemron.
So
free samples, incredible. It's going to be an incredible event.
All right, 672-6464 is the number at Bodies Personalized Fitness. I want you to have a great weekend. I want you to do what we try to promote for you to do on this show. I want you to love, I want you to laugh, and I want you to lift. I want you to love yourself. I want you to love your friends. I want you to love your family. I want you to love high school football tonight on WNDB and pay attention to it. I'm going to be dancing because I love dancing now. I want you to love supporting the September 27th pre-launch of the Greek Festival. A great dinner for $35. A great night of entertainment for you and your family. Call 252-6012 for that. God bless. Have a great weekend. Love, laugh, live. Bye-bye.
Be happy.
WNDB Daytona Beach, first in local news. Fox News updates at the top of every hour. Online at newsdaytonabeach.com.